Senior national correspondent Rich Edson at the White House for us this morning. Hey, Rich.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Well, the president's picking up right on that. He's lauding the crime crackdown here in Washington, D.C., is threatening to send it to Chicago and other places. He just posted, quote, "Wow, Mayor Muriel Bowser of D.C. has become very popular because she's worked with me and my great people in bringing crime down to virtually nothing in D.C. Her statements and actions were positive instead of others like Pritzker, Westmore, Newsom, and the 5% approval-rated mayor of Chicago, who spend all their time trying to justify violent crime." The president's police surge in the nation's capital is just into its fourth week. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says even she appreciates the federal assistance, though she says she does oppose the increase in ICE and National Guard presence. The D.C. government reports a 44% drop in violent crime during the federal surge compared to the same stretch last year. The president highlighted reports of several murders in Chicago last week and says he'll surge federal law enforcement next to Chicago if Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker fails to get crime under control there. Pritzker says he'd welcome more federal police like the FBI or ATF, but not the National Guard. And he says the president is obsessed with Democratic cities.
Chicago apparently is living rent-free in his head, even though on other days he'll talk about Baltimore, he'll talk about New York. Notice he never talks about where the most violent crime is occurring, which is in red states. Illinois is not even in the bottom half of states in terms of violent crime.
Now, Republicans have countered that many of those cities in red states are run by Democrats. Kevin, back to you.
Rich Edson for us on the North Lawn. Rich, thank you.
Let's bring in now Congressman Buddy Carter, Republican of Georgia, who joins me now. Thank you so much for coming on to talk to us on this Labor Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I want to talk about crime in Washington, D.C., because since the president has federalized the law enforcement there and deployed the National Guard, we've seen a number of arrests and crime is down, which is an example of how this actually works. First of all, let me ask you, what do you believe about the president's plans to federalize these cities?
Well, I applaud the president for what he's doing. Let me tell you, I was at Union Station yesterday. It was so nice to be able to walk through Union Station without being harassed, without seeing all the trash and everything on the around Union Station. It was such a nice thing to be able to experience. And did we need it in Washington, D.C.? Absolutely, we needed it. Yeah. Remember, this is where 2 embassy workers were killed earlier this year. This is where an intern was shot and killed earlier this year. This is where a member of the administration was mugged and brutally beaten this year. And now the president has gone out and he's cleaned up these streets. And thank goodness he's done that in our nation's capital, which, by the way, has the 4th highest homicide rate in the country before he started this.
Yeah, absolutely. Chicago is the number 1. I want to go to D.C. crime crackdown. I want to show the numbers just to give you an idea in number form how many arrests we're talking about here. 1,369 total arrests, 12 known gang members arrested, 140 firearms seized, 50 homeless encampments cleared. That is an incredible number. Now, if you look at those numbers, now let's switch over to Chicago. Chicago has long been the top crime capital of the country. And if Chicago doesn't get on board, the president has essentially said, we will come and fix it for you. But the Governor Pritzker, is saying absolutely not. This is not your territory. The mayor there is also saying the same. What say you?
What a joke. I mean, this is a result of ineffective and weak Democratic leadership. It's a result of defund the police. Look, Willie Sutton was a bank robber, and they asked him, why do you rob banks? Because that's where they keep the money. Why are we choosing these Democratic cities? Because that's where the problem is. That's where you're having the crime. That's why you're choosing those cities. They want to say, oh, no, you're just picking on Democrats. No, we're not picking on Democrats. We are targeting those cities where crime is the highest. And don't those people in those cities deserve to be able to be safe? Don't they deserve to be able to take their family out to dinner without having to deal with all this?
Yep.
Chicago last weekend had 6 people killed, 24 people shot. I mean, come on, guys. This is reality we're talking about here. It needs to be cleaned out. I was a mayor at one time. One of my most important duties was to keep my city safe. And that's what the president's doing. Remember, this president is delivering on promises he made during the campaign that he was going to make America safer and more prosperous.
You would think,
making it safer through cleaning up our streets.
You would think these elected officials would want their citizens safe, right? Like you just said, the mayor of Chicago should want Chicago residents safe. Look at the numbers for this weekend, because you just mentioned 24 shot last weekend, 52 people shot just this Labor Day weekend, 7 fatally. Here's Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, who abruptly ended a news conference when pressed on the effectiveness of the executive order against federal agents. Watch this.
How effective do you think this order is going to be? Because these are federal agents we're talking about. They're taking orders from the federal government, not from the city of Chicago.
Yeah, and I don't take orders from the federal government. Thank you all very much.
I also want to add that when questioned, Mayor Johnson, when questioned, what do you believe will actually reduce crime? Do you know what he said? Not an increase in law enforcement. He said more affordable housing. That's where his mindset is. Your final thoughts?
Unbelievable. I tell you, these people are so off base here, and they just don't understand. They don't get it. You know, I'm not going to follow federal law. What? What are you saying here? You're setting an example. You're supposed to be following federal law. You're supposed to be the top of law enforcement agent here in this city, and you're telling people don't follow federal law? That's ridiculous. No wonder they've got such a problem. Thank goodness Donald Trump is cleaning this up, and I hope he continues to do just that.
And no wonder why people continue to break the law, because they've got politicians telling them to do so, essentially. Thank you so much for talking to us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.